Love lives here. When the world gets you down and you're feeling lonely, when you can't find your truth or find your center, there are many here who gather together. Oh, unconditionally, we love each other, and the scars that we see just make us stronger. We breathe it in together, we'll hold you up with grace. We know that love lives here in you and me. Love lives here. My soul breaks free. I'm so excited to be united with you. Where love lives, where love lives. When life gets you down, you can't see the future. When it all seems too much for you to handle, there are many here who gather together. Oh, unconditionally, we pray together, and the hurt that you feel will be set free. We breathe it in together, we'll hold you up with grace. We know that love lives here in you and me. Love lives here. My soul breaks free. I'm so excited to be united with you. Where love lives, where love lives. Love lives here in you and me. Love lives here. My soul breaks free. I'm so excited to be united with you. Where love lives, where love lives. Love lives here.
Good morning. Hi, I am Reverend Jeffrey Kealoha Ryan, and it is my distinct honor to welcome you to Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, where love lives here. Thank you for joining us on our love stream this morning. We are streaming live to Facebook and to YouTube. So we welcome you. Come on in, bring your friends in. If you're watching us on Facebook, if you're joining us on Facebook, then go ahead and start a watch party too and invite your friends to come on in. Good morning, Constance. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Janie. Morning, Mom. Good morning, Douglas. Douglas Ray. Good morning, Pat. Hey, Earl. Good morning. Good to see you. Hey, Shawnee. Great to see you. Great to see all of you coming on in. Come on in. Bring your friends in. Invite them in with a watch party. And make sure that you are using the hashtags WeAreCSL and hashtag LoveLivesHere. So it is great to have you with us this 16th day of August. Happy anniversary to newlyweds Frank and Helen Conley, celebrating 51 years of wedded bliss today. Ed and I celebrated our 5th anniversary yesterday. So welcome and come on in and let's share the love this morning. Good morning, Tommy. Great to see you. All right, so we are working with the theme of inclusion in action, and we have a wonderful guest joining us this morning, a friend of ours here at Riverside CSL, Jeffon Seeley. He'll be with us in a little bit, so we see him in the feed too. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, so Jabel, let's get started with some music, get us moving and grooving and shaking and everything else that we do here at Riverside. All right, see you soon.
I love the moving and grooving and shaking. Great to have everybody here on Sunday. It's so hot that I have my muumuu on and my hair up. So hope you're okay with that. We are one big family in the heat. Ready, here we go. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we're meant to be. We are love, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, hey, hey. All right, we're going to slow it down a little bit here. I know you all know this one, so sing along with me. One people living in one planet, joining in one family. We all are one. One people living in one planet, joining as one family. We all are one. One people living on one planet, joining in one family. We all are one. We all are one. We all are one.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Francis Drake. I'm one of the spiritual practitioners at Centers for Spiritual Living. I invite you this morning to turn in with me for prayer. In this now moment, I speak with a heart open and full of gratitude for the blessings of life we've been given, called forth into being by divine appointment. We are here for God, recognizing the allness of the One that is limitless, birthless, and deathless. It is infinite intelligence. It is omnipresent, divine wisdom, omniscient, all-knowing, always available and open to us as we call upon it for wisdom and guidance. This presence of which I speak is the only power there is, having dominion over all of creation, over the waters, the galaxy, the winds, and all of the universe. God is the author and the creator of everything that is, seen and unseen, both known and unknown. God knowing itself as its creation and inclusive of all its creation, has called each of us forth into being as individualized expressions of itself. God's true nature is one of love, that agape love, that is unconditional and includes all things and all beings. It is order and peace and grace. It is joy and perfection and abundance. It is supply, opulent supply, sufficient to meet all of our needs. It is prosperity and divine wisdom, guiding us and guarding us and directing us always as we turn to it. It is the one mind that we think with and that thinks through and as us. I am one with and as this divine presence, inextricably bound to every attribute that it is. And as I know this truth for me, I know that my God, unlike some other caste or hierarchical systems, having made distinctions where God has made none, We are all of us one with God and one with all of creation. One with and as the same qualities, made of the same stuff as God. So I bless this service today, knowing that each person present, having said yes to be in agreement with being present, that many possibilities may arise from the willingness to be inclusive, in all of our relationships and all of our activities, recognizing the true identity of ourselves and others, recognizing all of us as the very life of God, and becoming open and receptive to learning more about each other, sharing with each other, working with each other, being in teams with each other, coming forth together as one brings about the birth of healing. So I bless this service today. I bless all the musicians, the sound crew, and everyone who's had anything to do with pulling this wonderful service together today. I bless Reverend Jeffrey. I bless our guest, Jeffon Seeley, knowing that he comes to us full of the word, steeped in spiritual principle and truth. And I bless anyone else having to do with pulling this service together and making preparations for this time. Knowing as a result of this word spoken, we leave it renewing our intention and giving attention to living as our authentic selves and looking for the face of God in all that we meet, recognizing as we are more willing and inclusive of others, we indeed invite more of God into our lives. So please join me in saying, and so it is.
This is a great song called Love Wins. It's super easy, so if you feel like singing along, please sing with me. You turn the news on, you get your blues on from all the negativity. It's hard to wrap yourself around what's going on TV. You can stress it, second guess it. You can think about it way too hard. Or you can move the conversation from your head to your heart. Sometimes it's a matter of just letting go and holding on to the one thing we know. Love wins, love wins. That's where the circle of life begins. It's the one simple lesson worth learning again and again. Love wins. We all matter. Doesn't really matter one side or the other, as long as we find a way to get along with one another. We can agree to disagree, or maybe even realize that you see another point of view when you look through someone else's eyes. Sometimes it's a matter of just letting go and holding on to the one thing we know. Love wins, love wins. That's where the circle of life begins. It's the one simple lesson worth learning again and again. Love wins whenever you give it a chance. It is the one hope everyone has to build a better world for us all. Love wins, love wins. That's where the circle of life begins. It's the one simple lesson worth learning again that's where it all begins. Love wins. We learn it again and again. Love wins. And that's where it all begins. Love wins. We learn it again and again. Love wins.
Thank you, Jabel. Thank you, Francis. Beautiful way to get this time together started. Excuse me. So, as we start every week with this period in our gathering, our online gathering, let's start with our focus statement, shall we? And let's really embody it. Let's really bring it forward. So let's say this together. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. One more time. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. And so that's the lens that we see everything through here at Riverside Centers for Spiritual Living. And what we are working with this year here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide is the theme of 2020 Global Vision. And specifically this month of August, we are working with the theme of inclusion in action. And today, our discussion is going to be with Jeffon Seeley. And we're going to be talking about better together. So I want to remind all of you who Jeffon is, just a brief glimpse of who he is, and you'll get to know him more here in a minute. But Jeffon is a national speaker and workshop facilitator. He is recognized as a leading resource in the field of diversity and inclusion, generations, mindfulness, and leadership. He assists major corporations, nonprofit organizations, government, and academic institutions with innovative strategies to integrate mindfulness, inclusion, and the evolving generations into management and leadership roles. He is named as one of the emerging spiritual leaders in our world by Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith. Jeffon is committed to shining a light of hope, peace, and power into every environment he enters, including ours. So please welcome Jeffon Seeley to Riverside CSL. Good morning, Jeffon. Hey.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Of course. It's a little bit of I love being there in person and seeing everybody. And, this is beautiful as well. So thank you for all that you're doing. Absolutely.
Thank you. So you are, as your bio says, as I just shared with everybody, you are a diversity and inclusion expert. You're a leader in this field. And so we're going to start there this morning. And so from that perspective, and then you're also a member of Centers for Spiritual Living and part of the next generation movement here in the organization. But from that perspective, Jeffon, from your perspective in diversity inclusion training, what for you makes a really strong community? What would you say makes a really, a strong, healthy community?
Yeah, that's
a community, organization, whatever.
Yeah, so we got about 4 hours here, so let me jump right in.
I know.
Yeah, I think, what one of the most important elements is to begin to recognize the uniqueness that every individual brings. And I just kind of want to preface this by saying that Francis's invocation was so powerful. The inclusivity element that she mentioned is so incredible. But I want to say, as we begin to recognize diversity, we start seeing that regardless where we go, there are differences that exist from the external or physical realm, from ourselves and other individuals. Do we allow those differences that exist between ourselves and other people to create barriers that prevent us from creating an inclusive environment? Or are we willing to internally begin to recognize the commonality that all of us share by way of the life, the God essence, the infinite presence that is available and actually flowing through all individuals? So the way in which I see inclusion and diversity being an instrumental part of any community is recognizing the unique and infinite ways for which God, source, the divine appears. And that is through everybody and everything. And I think we both can agree that there are unique ideas, gifts, words, statements that individuals bring to the forefront of community. And that's what really begins to showcase when everybody has an opportunity to be their authentic selves day in and day out.
Yeah, for sure. And, at the very end of Francis's invocation, which, as you mentioned, was extraordinarily beautiful, at the very end of her invocation, she stepped into and brought forth the idea that when we know each other more, then when we get to know each other more, then we also know more of God in that way. Right. So it's a powerful concept, and it's something that we were talking about with Tracy and with Reverend Marie a couple of weeks ago, that it's really powerful to understand that diversity and inclusion are natural aspects of life itself, of God itself. Nothing is excluded from God. If all is one, everything's naturally included in that. However, we have the opportunity to be intentionally inclusive in our daily lives, in our personal lives, and in our community, and even in the larger community. I'd like to hear your thoughts around that.
Yeah, I mean, diversity, as you mentioned, is a natural byproduct of life. If we even look at the natural world, we recognize it is the unique and infinite, endless diversity that allows everything on this sacred planet to continue to unfold, as it is true for us as humans. And so the intentional aspect is really where I like to draw attention to, because intention is to intend to do something, which is really having a purpose or a passion behind putting these ideas into action. And I think far too often it seems as if inclusion is a beautiful word to express and share, but when it really comes down to putting our treat and move your feet, so to say, when it comes to that aspect of moving our feet, that we often, and I say we as in a very broad context, gravitate towards a certain behaviors that may create these inclusive environments without recognizing what internally has to begin to shift so that those intentions are pure and aligning with the source or the spirit that is dwelling within us. And if we are able to achieve inclusion within ourselves, within our consciousness, within our being, seeing that God is truly everywhere present, then it seems that those behaviors naturally follow. So I like to say for all and everybody, when we begin having these discussions about inclusion and diversity, that everything begins within. And if we look at CSL, Science of Mind, we recognize that that's where the magic happens, within ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if we're not doing it here internally first, then, because whatever we're doing internally is what we see outside.
So
right?
So then the question becomes,
yeah,
maybe a wonderful practice that individuals can begin to embrace is to begin to do some internal introspection, as we often say, become an astronaut of inner space, and begin to identify all the ways in which you think or ways in which you operate internally that create exclusion instead of inclusion. And in doing so, you can start bridging those differences internally, and then, as we know, we cause the effects in the external world.
Right, absolutely. And it really is a deep dive. It's really being, sitting and questioning when we're looking at our intentions, to really evaluate what are our beliefs behind those intentions, what is our motivation behind those intentions. Are we doing it, from a more superficial level, more of a surface level? Are we really diving in and really wanting to affect change? And that's true whether we're talking about intending, inclusion, or intending, a new house, or intending a relationship, that piece of it, really being clear with our intention and what is our motivation behind that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Finding out our why, I think, is an important piece to this. Would you say?
Yeah, finding out our why and being willing to authentically interact with other human beings who are completely different than oneself. And in that authentic human interaction that you have with other individuals, by being genuinely interested, suddenly you start invalidating beliefs that aren't based in any experiential reality. So when you meet somebody who is totally different than you and authentically engage in ways in which we have the opportunity to do so, we start invalidating beliefs that are based in another person's opinion, past beliefs that are missing the mark, so to say.
Right. And that's very liberating. When we start letting go of those old ideas, those old beliefs, and our old idea, I think those old ideas and old beliefs can really be challenged. And that's part of the beauty about coming together with intentional inclusion, is that it's an opportunity to really challenge those unconscious biases or those beliefs that we don't even realize that we're holding on, or the prejudgments that we have made based on any number of things, that it really begins to challenge that. Because when we get proximate with one another, when we have these conversations with one another, coming from a place of openness, then we have the opportunity to hear, we have the opportunity to learn, we have the opportunity to grow.
Yeah. It's a powerful point. And the phrase that we often say in CSL, creating a world that works for everybody. In the process of creating a world that works for everybody, which is inclusive in nature, one must begin to dive deep into the unconscious or subconscious mind to recognize all of the ways that they either consciously or unconsciously participate in creating a world that does not work for everybody. So shining a light of conscious awareness in the unconscious realm of one's being, you begin to illuminate areas that you can allow God to step through and shine through.
Yeah, for sure.
Endless process, by the way.
What's that?
Endless process. It's a moment by moment thing continuously taking place.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the beauty about being in spiritual practice and doing spiritual practice on a regular, consistent basis, is because it is a continuous invitation to come back to center, to come back to where we are, and to ask, to inquire, to be present.
Yes.
And reveal, and allow it to be revealed. And so there's the opportunity, when we are moving in community, of being intentional with one another, to really look at our motivations as to why we're being intentional. Is it just for show? Is it performative? Or is it really about getting to know one another? Mm-hmm. And I think, it's such a spectrum, right? As we come to doing this work, that sometimes it might initially be like, I think, we have this value of being inclusive. So maybe I think we ought to be more inclusive, right? And so then the idea then is like, it's coming from a place of should, rather than a place of, this is something that we really value. And so there's an opportunity, I think, to really look at whether it's, this is what's trending right now, so we should be focusing on this, or we should be looking at this, versus, no, this is who we are, and this is what we value, and this is why we have these conversations.
Yeah. A really great point that I often share when doing a variety of trainings is encouraging individuals to, as my mentor often says, we cannot begin to achieve that which we cannot clearly define. So if inclusion is this elusive word that everybody is using, but everybody's aiming at a different target, particularly in a community, then we're all going in different directions. So what if we begin the process of truly identifying what inclusion means to us individually, bringing that to the forefront, and then collectively creating something where we all know where we're going? And the way I like to say it, it's a place where people feel wanted, feel valued, feel respected, and have this same type of equity or equality amongst everybody else in the unit, so to say. And I want to touch upon this point, Rev. Jeffrey, really quick about respect in terms of human equality, which I believe is the major hindrance, in addition to unconscious perceptions, that prevent inclusion from being a reality. And what I mean is, imagine if we were able to create a culture of human equality, which is the core concept of CSL, of New Thought, of deep spiritual teachings. If we were truly able to create a culture of equality where we begin to recognize the inherent worth that is dwelling within all people, regardless of what their race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identification, age, any of those dimensions of diversity that we use to create barriers of separation, if we were able to recognize the inherent worth that is dwelling within all human beings, realizing that there is no human that is superior and there is no human that is inferior. And I'm not talking about a hierarchy in an organization or in some type of association. I'm talking from a human to human level. If we were able to dissolve the illusionary dyad of superior, inferior, then that would seem as if it would open the doorway to create this culture of equality where we are truly able to honor, recognize, and cherish the inherent worth that is dwelling within all people.
Absolutely. Exclamation point. Michelle's over here snapping. So there you are.
That's from the book of Jeffon, chapter 4, verse 8. No.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You know, it's fantastic that's really what it boils down to, right? Relating to each other as humans, recognizing the inherent worth that is the indwelling in all humans. Exactly. Thank you, Reverend Masando, for joining us from Denver. Hey. Yeah, exactly that. Recognizing the inherent worth. Because if we start there, if we really start there, and, you know, it goes beyond, you know, the idea of namaste, right? I mean, you know, namaste can get, sometimes when we use namaste, it can become, you know, namaste, I see the God in you, I recognize the God in you, you recognize the God in me. It almost becomes cliche at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But as Tracy talks about in her book, moving to the idea of Ubuntu, which is the idea that I am because you are and you are because I am, that we are inextricable from one another, that each one of us has inherent worth and inherent value, that we have this interdependency, that we have this interconnection that we could never, ever be separate from. When we begin to come from that place, there's a richness and a deepness that's there that's not there if we're not aware of that, if we're not paying attention to that, if we're not bringing our attention and intention to that area right there.
Yeah, it's almost as if you're living the word or the words instead of allowing the words to determine the behaviors that you show up with. Because behaviors often are fluctuated or dependent upon one's state of mind or consciousness. And therefore, if there is no conscious recognition or no true shift in consciousness, behaviors are very short-lived before we revert back to old habitual ways of performing because there has been no real internal transformation. And this is one point that I want to just briefly touch upon that I've seen often, and that is the idea that just declaring that all is one is enough to create inclusion. And then that by itself can lead towards this certain bypass, spiritual bypass, that begins the process of ignoring, avoiding, or dismissing the realities that many of our brothers and sisters are facing in this physical realm. Now, we know that we can go to a deeper level and recognize the oneness that is inherent within all individuals. But in that recognition of the oneness that is dwelling within each and every one of us, I do not believe that that provides us with the luxury of ignoring or dismissing the suffering or struggling that individuals may be experiencing in this realm. And we cannot act high and mighty. As Dr. Kendi says in his book, How to Be an Anti-Racism, denial is one of the fuels that flame the fires of racism, discrimination, and those other isms.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so important to be, you know, to be paying attention and to be aware of it. And yeah.
It's a deep thing.
I love it.
Have you heard of the Indian philosopher by the name of Jiddu Krishnamurti?
Yes.
And he's a powerful individual. I mean, you can just read a few lines of his and just marinate, similar to Ernest Holmes. He has this saying that when unity begins to fragment apart is when conflict begins to arise. So if we were truly able to embrace this level of consciousness where we honor, recognize, and see the oneness that is dwelling within all and embrace the unity, then it would seem as if conflict would begin to subside. But it's in allowing the differences that exist amongst us to outrank the oneness that we share, where those conflicts seem to arise. And I'm still formulating this idea. I'm not saying that it's absolute truth. It's just something that I've really been sitting with and asking myself, in what ways am I participating day in and day out that create conflict by way of me not being able to recognize the inherent worth and unity that I share with all things? That's another practice I've been carrying with me.
Beautiful. Yeah, Joel Goldsmith talks about, separation as well, and as does Ernest Holmes, that really ultimately everything comes down to this belief in two powers, a belief in separation, a belief from being separate from one another, which is ultimately rooted in the idea and the belief that we are separate from the one, separate from God. And so if we keep coming back to how am I feeling separate today? How am I feeling exclusionary today? How am I participating in this today? And then making the course correction, bringing us back into alignment. Then we have that. It's a great practice. We have that opportunity then to begin feeling a stronger connection here, but then begin to feel a stronger connection here. That one is inherent in the other. Yes.
And I was reading, actually, last time I was at your center, and I went to the bookstore, which I often venture in CSL communities, and I found Joel Goldsmith's book, Practicing the Presence. And I was reading just a little bit today, and it was perfect for this conversation we're having, where he mentioned we often give the effect more power than we give the cause. And if we are willing to recognize the causal nature of our being by way of source, by way of the essence of life itself, then we recognize that the effect is simply an output of what is taking place internally. So if we see something we don't like, it's not out there that needs to change. It's something that is dwelling within us, either individually or from a collective consciousness, that in that shifting internally, we ultimately can cause a new effect. So the solution, as we will often say, is dwelling very deep, very close to who and what we are, which is within ourselves.
Absolutely. So it starts there, and then we have the opportunity then to take it out into the world, as you were mentioning a few minutes ago, is that, we don't deny what's happening in the world. We can't deny it. And that's just spiritual bypass. If we're saying, oh no, it's all good, it's all God, it doesn't work that way. That just becomes spiritual bypass when you're looking at real lived experiences of lots and lots and lots of people. We have the vision of a world that works for everyone, but we're not living in a world that works for everyone yet. Right? And so then it becomes, as I've shared before, it becomes our responsibility as adherents of New Thought, as people who practice this faith and philosophy, it becomes our responsibility to use the tools that we've been given of changing our thinking, changing our habits, changing our beliefs, changing our habits. We can use these same tools on the greater scale, on the community scale, on the national scale. We have these tools available. And if we're not doing it, who's going to do it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? If we're not doing it, who's going to do it? Then we're leaving the door open for, other folks to use the law as they will to create a world that works for them.
Exactly. And as I often say, there is no neutral ground. We are either consciously moving in a direction to create a more empowering, more inclusive, more inspiring, motivating, uplifting environment, or the act of doing nothing is maintaining what currently exists. So we're always supporting, kind of in this analogy, one or the other. And even in the act of doing nothing is the act of doing something, because you're reinforcing what currently exists. So what better time for us to begin to take conscious control or awareness of the tools in which we have to move throughout this experience and assist in coloring our reality by way of things that are always with us: our thoughts, our choices, and our actions. And as I said when I had the privilege to speak at your center, those are the 3 paintbrushes we are moving around with each and every day, coloring this canvas that we call our reality. So think, choose, act, and in doing so, you individually begin the process of creating something completely new.
Beautiful. Thank you. So thank you for being with us this morning. There will be more with Jeffon at the top of the hour when we flip on over to Beyond the Message on Zoom. So I invite you to join us there on Zoom for Beyond the Message. So everybody, I want to give Jeffon much love from Riverside CSL. So send him with lots of hearts there in the chat, and the likes in the live stream. So give them lots of love. Thank you, Jeffon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
We'll see you in a minute. So let's just come together in consciousness at this time, shall we? I recognize here and now that there's just this one life, this one power, this one infinite, eternal. This one is unity. It is wholeness. It is perfection. It is the allness, the fullness, and the isness that simply is all of life, all of creation. It was so in the beginning, it is so now, it is so always and in all ways. I live, move, breathe, and have my being in it and it as me. That right where I am, this power, this presence, this one life moves, expresses, and makes itself known. I am one with love. I am one with peace. I am one with the wholeness and the fullness that is the allness of this one life. And so I recognize here and now that I am inextricably connected from it, inseparable. It is the totality of my being. And as I know that this is true of me, I know that this is true of each person present here this day, recognizing that each one is one with the one, that we are all divine emanations and impartations of this one life, this one beautiful, magnificent, glorious life that is love, that is wholeness, that is unity. And so I speak my word here and now for this beloved community, Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, recognizing that it is the beloved community, that together we are working to build a world, to create a world that works for everyone and all of creation through our focus of emboldening people to live their highest potential through that transformative power of love. This is the work that we do here in the world, here for ourselves, for each other, for our community, and for the globe, for the entirety. The right where we are, inclusion already is. And so we are intentionally inclusive. We set our sights, we set our ideas, we set our mind to fulfilling and to being the wholeness and the totality, to expressing it into the world of form. And I know that each one of us is interdependent and interconnected with one another. And because of this, we are stronger together. We are better together. Because of this, we know ourselves more. We know God more. For each is a divine expression of the one life. Coming together in this wholeness, coming together as this community. I simply give thanks for all that is and all that unfolds. I give thanks for the perfection and the beauty of this intentional community, the stained glass community, this beloved community. Knowing that it is so, I release this word and I let it be. And together we affirm, and so it is.
This is the beautiful piece today by the amazing Faith Rivera. Peace is the promise I make today. There's nothing greater for me to say than to lay down my fears, lay down unhappiness, and surrender to the peace I choose today. Peace is the gift that I give today. No easy shortcut. Peace is the way. I will lay down my pride, lay down self-righteousness, and surrender to the peace I choose today. My all, I give my love. For all my all, I give today. For all. Peace is the reason we're here today. No accident, we've been called by name, called to lay down our lives, stand up for greater good, and surrender to the peace we choose today. Peace we choose today. We bring today. We live, oh, today. Peace today. Peace today.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning, and I want to continue to thank you for your conscious contributions to Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. It is you that makes all of this happen. It is us coming together as a community, supporting one another with love, supporting one another with our financial good. And I want to continue to thank you because it is just beautiful to see every week when we're looking, when we go to the accounts and just see the love and support that you are sharing with this community as this community. And we are able to do wonderful things because of that. So I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. The easiest way to contribute is to contribute online or on your phone with text to give. Simply type in the phone number 951-419-5858 in your text messaging. 951-419-5858. Type in the amount and hit send, and there it goes, just like that. So that's one easy way. The other easy way is to go to our website, riversidecsl.org, and in the upper right-hand corner, you will see the word contribute. Click on that, and it makes it really easy for you to contribute to the center. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Your love, your generosity, your conscious contribution is making an impact and making a difference in the world. So thank you. I appreciate it. And Jabel, let's sing a little bit, shall we?
Okay,
There we are.
let's sing.
Hey.
Think of a band right now, because I don't have one. cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do.
There we go. Fantastic. Thank you. So just a couple of quick announcements here before we close out and move over onto Zoom. So the first thing I want to share with you is Frances, our beautiful Frances, is facilitating a book study coming up at the end of the month. We are looking at Your Redefining Moments by Dennis Merritt Jones. This is his most recent book. And Frances will be facilitating a book study. It'll be on Tuesdays, August 25th through September 15th. That is a 4-week book study from 6 to 8 p.m. on Zoom. You can register today online at riversidecsl.org. Just go to our classes page. You can register there. It is being offered on a love offering basis, so just share the love as you can and are able to. That would be fantastic. Once you have registered, then you will receive the link to the Zoom, or you will receive the Zoom link. And you will also receive a link if you want to purchase the book on Amazon. Make sure you use our Smile Amazon to support the center when you make that purchase. So once again, that is August 25th through September 15th, 4 weeks on Tuesdays. Your Redefining Moments book study with Frances Drake, RSCP practitioner. So thank you so much, Frances, for taking that on. And if you are choosing to do the book study, please know that you need to have read the first 3 chapters of the book so that when you get together on the first Tuesday, you already have something to talk about, right? And so you're coming prepared to talk and coming prepared to share. And it is a transformative book study. And so we are excited to have this opportunity to go deeper together in community. And then also, I want to remind you that coming up next week, Reverend Masando has been in the chat, active in the chat. He will be with us next week. And then here comes the slide. There we are. Reverend Masando will be with us next week. And then following that, Kat Kim, practitioner from CSL Seattle, will be rounding out our series of Inclusion in Action. So good to have all of you with us. I'd like to bring everybody back in quickly here. There we are. So I just want to send a shout out to all of the beloveds this morning. So first of all, to Frances, thank you so much. To Jabel, thank you. Jeffon, thank you so much. Blessings and shout outs to Michelle working behind the scenes here at the house,
Yes.
Ed monitoring the chat, and Matt there at the center assisting Jabel with sound. So thank you to everybody who has come together this morning, and most importantly, thank you to all of you who have joined us here this morning via Facebook and YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't forget, we're moving over to Zoom in just a moment. The Zoom ID number is 249-395-737. It's 249-395-737. And you can also just go to our website, riversidecsl.org, and click on the button there, and you'll be taken straight there as well. All right, so repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called love. Love is in my mind. Love is in my body. Love is in everything I do. I am it. I share it. And I receive it because love lives here. Happy Sunday. Peace and blessings, one and all. Love you.
I sing my love. I sing my love. I sing my love into the world. Sing with me, you guys. I sing my love. I sing my love. I sing my love into the world. I sing my love. I sing my love. I sing my love into the world. I sing my love. I sing my love. I sing my love into the world. I live my peace. I live my peace. I live my peace into the world. I live my peace. I live my peace. I live my peace into the world. I sing my peace. I live my peace. I live my peace into the world. I live my peace. I live my peace. I live my peace into the world. Peace, guys. Have a good Sunday. Love you all. See you next week. Love.